Hello there and welcome to our Coco and Crafts class. We are on the second class. We are on the third project. It is a Coco Packet little treat envelope box. I'm not sure. I would call it an envelope. So we're going to get started right away. We are going to do a different technique. So for this project, you are going to need your little spritzer that came in your kit. Looks a little different than mine. I don't have my cap on mine. And you want to fill it with some water, just plain regular water. And I'm going to go ahead and set this up here and get our stuff out. You're going to need your Coco packets that came in the kit. Stamp set, of course. And I believe we do need two different. We're going to need the one that says Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas. And of course we're going to need the snowflake cluster that we've used on the other two projects. I actually may need to do some scrubbing on mine. I've used it so much on this class. Okay, that one's ready. This one's ready. We want to actually do our background piece before we do anything because we need to let that dry. So let me set this over here. There is an envelope in this kit that has your little pieces in it. However, the envelope itself is for the fourth project, not for this project. I just needed it to hold your little doodads. So I'm going to set all of this aside because I really want to get this other piece done and let it dry. Now, there are 4 white rectangles. You'll notice they're a little different color. 2 of them are very shimmery. Those are the 2 pieces that you want right now. So we're going to set those here. And I am going to get just a scrap piece to work on because it might get a little messy. Then what we're going to do, I want you to take your stamp set, and on each of your stamps there is a really thin piece of plastic, and then there's the thicker piece. We're going to grab the thin one. We're actually going to use that for doing our background. This is commonly known as the smooshing technique, and you'll see why in a second. We're going to open up our ink pad, and here's my piece of plastic. I'm going to just dab some ink on it randomly, okay? Not everywhere, just a few. If you can see, just a few little dots there. And then I'm going to spritz it with water. Now, I did neglect to say in this you're going to need either a paintbrush, or what I prefer to use is just the back of a plastic spoon. And I'm just going to kind of spread that color around on my plastic. Okay? Then we're going to take this piece and just turn it upside down and set it there, and then very lightly smoosh the color around. Just kind of give it a little push all over, and you could let it sit like this and dry, but what we're going to do is then pick it up, and you see there's more color on the plastic here. Then I'm just going to touch it down lightly in some areas, and it'll give some different textures on your paper. And I actually probably have more water than I need here, so I'm going to take my little cloth here, just kind of dab a little bit of this up, dab a little bit of that up because that's a little bit much. There we go. But then I'm going to continue and put a few more little dots of color here and there. I don't want a ton because we don't want our snowflakes to get lost in the background if there's too much going on back there. And I think that's good. I think I'm going to let that set and dry. And now I'm going to do the other one. I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, let me set this on here and try to get the excess amount of color off. There we go. Just touch it a few times with your ink pad. Give it a spray. And again, that might be a little more water than I need. We'll see. And then just rub that color around so you don't end up with just 3 dots of color. You want this to just kind of spread out over the plastic. All right, bring my paper back. Flip this over. One thing you don't want to do is rub really hard because you'll find that it actually will leave lines in the paper, and you just kind of want it. I'm using the flat part of my finger to spread the color out, not my nails. There we go. Ooh, I kind of like that. Spread it out a little more. See how it just gives you some texture? This is like cheating on a watercolor background is what it is. You're getting a watercolor effect without doing all the work. Kind of fun. Alright, lift that up one more time, and I think I'm going to let that one dry. Look, doesn't that look cool? Doesn't it look neat? I love it. This is a very addicting technique. It can get very fun. Okay, I'm going to take this and wipe off my plastic. I don't need that anymore. I want it clean before I put it back. Put it back on my stamps. There we go. And let's get this out of the way so you can see better. Okay, so we have these finished. While those are drying, let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. In your packet, there are 2 small rectangles like this, and we're going to stamp Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas. And I am going to stamp it towards the left-hand side of the panel. I think that's crooked. Oh, no, not too bad. There we go. Now, on the end, if you have one of our banner punches, you can use that to punch a little banner shape out of the end. You could do a very simple one with a pair of snips and just cut it on an angle like that. Super easy. Or if you want to have a banner but you don't have a punch, here's an easy way to do it. You take your scissor and you just kind of approximate the center, and you cut straight up the center as deep as you want your banner to be. If I wanted it deeper, I would cut a little bit deeper. And then you simply cut from the corner to the top of where you just cut, and do the same thing on this side. And there you go, you have a little banner. Oftentimes if I try to just cut this way and this way, I end up with it wonky. It ends up longer on one side than the other. So by doing that center cut first, it gives me a more even banner cut on the end, if that makes sense. All right, that is done. Now we do have, in the envelope, there are some snowflakes. There are some silver ones and 2 large white ones. And we want the 2 large white ones because we're going to stamp on them. And I need to find the snowflake that goes with it. Oh, there it is. Yep, that's the one I want. Let me grab a block. Alright. Sticky. Okay. Thankfully, these are photopolymer. They're easy enough to see through. You should be able to get a pretty decent stamp. They're also symmetrical, so if you do misstamp on one side, you can probably flip it over and try again on the other side. Come off. There we go. And generally, I always teach stamp first and then cut because it's much easier to line up the die with the stamp. But for these kits, obviously I couldn't do that, so we are doing it backwards. And that worked. Yay! There we go. Okay, so that part of our stamping is done. And then depending, let's see how these feel. They feel pretty, oh, they might still be a little bit wet. So I'm going to let that wait just a minute before I stamp the background on that. Set these over here. Now, on your base piece, you'll see that I've already put some tear and tape on the inside edge of the front. and there has been some holes punched in the top. You also notice it's already been folded and scored, or scored and folded, and I have some numbers written on them. And that is because in order to do this, I used this to punch these out. I folded it in half, put it in here, and punched. That way they were directly lined up together. But then we needed this panel also to line up. So what I did, let me see, one, yep, hey. I lined this up, flipped it over, drew with the pencil, and then used that as my guide, like this, to punch it out. So, to make sure they line up properly, because this one is a number 2, and I don't know if you can see very well, but that doesn't exactly line up, because this one is supposed to line up with the 2. This has a 2 on it, this has a 2 on it, these two will go together, and these two will go together. So let's go ahead and assemble those. Set those over there. I don't know if all of that made sense, but basically just remember to line your 1, and your 2 with your 2. I have already pre-embossed these with the Snowflake embossing folder, which is so pretty. And because this project is not a flat card, it actually has some fold to it by putting this in here. You want to make sure you get adhesive all the way around here. See here, I didn't get enough adhesive on this corner and it's lifting up. Here you want to make sure you get adhesive all the way around the edges really well, so that when you put your hot cocoa packet in there, it's going to stay flat. It's not going to bow out. There we go, and I'm going to put a couple in here. Come on. There we go. And then I can line up my cut, line up my top and my side edges, and there is that one finished and ready. Okay. And number 2, let's get this one together. Couple in the middle, and line up my hole, and line up my edges. Oh, don't go down, don't go down, you are crooked. You are crooked. There we go. That's better. Okay. And give it a really good burnish so that the adhesive really sticks well. Okay, base is ready to go. Let's see, are we dry? I think we're dry enough. Okay, so now what we want to do is do some snowflakes, and we want these snowflakes to kind of be in the background. So what does that mean? Just like before, we're going to do some stamping off. As you can see, we're going to ink up here, stamp on some scrap paper, then stamp once or twice, up to you, depending on how light you want them to be. Stamp a few times. So we just have this really light, snowy background going on our paper. Isn't that pretty? And I know you probably can't see in the video, but the shimmer on this paper, I just love. I just love. Okay, so let's do another one. And turn it around. Let's see. What do you think? I think we need a darker in this corner up here. Yep, that direction. There we go. That's good. Maybe a lighter one right here. All right, so we'll set those aside. I'm going to do some cleaning on this stamp before. There we go. And all of our stamping is now finished. Now let's finish adhering and gluing and putting it together. So grab your other two white rectangles and the two that we've stamped and textured and gave a really cool watercolor background to. I'm going to go ahead and stickify both of these. And you know what? I want to make sure I get the corners really well. Come on. There we go. And this one looks like I got a little bit. There we go. Oh, it is so sticky. All right. Now I want to line up. This one has a very, very thin border. But it needed just a little something to make it pop out against that dark blue background. So we just did a thin border on that. And the reason I'm doing this is because it got wet, the paper was bowing in the other direction, and so I'm just kind of flattening out it a little bit there. There we go. Okay, so now we want to adhere these to the front of our cards. Okay, make sure I've got plenty of adhesive. Now on this one I did not center it. You can center it if you want to. I did mine actually up slightly and to the left slightly. So there is a larger border here and a larger border here. It was just a design choice. And I want to give this a really good burnish. Make sure it's not going to pop up when I stick that cocoa packet inside there. Okay, I'm going to go all the way around the edge. A little bit in the middle. Grab this one, do the same thing. There we go. Okay. Those are done. Now we have some silver snowflakes here. And yes, they have the adhesive on the back, so you don't have to use your liquid glue. Grab my... I'm going to put the large one down here so that it goes off of our watercolor panel onto the blue. And then I'm going to put a smaller one. Oh, a couple of those inside pieces are still there. There we go. I think I'm going to put this up a little bit higher. Give that a good push down. There we go. And then do the same thing on here. Down in the bottom corner. And in the upper corner. And then for these pieces, we actually want to put, in your kit you have some mini dimensionals, and you may or may not have some strips of your, the foam adhesive strips left. If you have some of the foam adhesive strips left, I suggest using that on your Snowflake Wishes panel across the bottom. Actually, wait, let me check something really quick. Whoop, knocking down my thing. Here's my dimensionals. There we go. Okay, so let me do the dimensionals on my snowflake first. And I'm just going to put one mini dimensional. You can cut these in half if you want to, but a full-size one seems to fit there just fine. It's a little bit tight, but it does fit. And then we're going to put one in the middle. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, and one in the middle. And then if your dimensionals, see these dimensionals are a bit thinner than the strips, so you're probably going to want to use the dimensionals so that they are the same height. So with that in mind, you want to put some across the bottom, maybe 4 of them across the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this one, make sure I'm on the bottom. Put one on either end on the top. Some half-size one here on the edge. But not in this middle section, because one or two of your snowflake arms are going to go behind that. So just put them across the bottom and on either end, but don't put it in the middle at the top, okay? Then we're going to go ahead and maybe if I can get the paper off. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put your words across. I'm kind of covering up some of that silver snowflake, but not a lot of it. I'm a little bit crooked, aren't I? Oh no, I am straight. And then take the adhesive off the back of a snowflake. And I need to hurry because my alarm is going to go off soon. And my husband's going to call because he's on his way home. And that will mess up our video. So I need to hurry. So I'm going to tuck 2 of those arms back behind there and have one of them coming out above. And you can kind of push it around and figure out where you want it. I think I like it right about there. And then push down. And there, that one is almost finished. Let me get this one done. Come on, there we go. Okay, so again, we're going to put this on, kind of cover up your snowflake, top of your snowflake a little bit. Get it straight. Push it down. Take the adhesive off of your blue snowflake. I'm dropping these things everywhere. I have my little cup here and half of them are landing on the table instead of in the cup. Okay, last one. There we go. Oh, it didn't come off. All right. Tuck 2 of the arms underneath there. It wants to stick before I get it in. There we go. That's where I want it. Oh, maybe not quite that far down. There. And push that down. And I just realized this is quite crooked. I did not get that on very straight, but I don't think I can move it now. Oh, maybe I can. Oh, I think I might be able to. I might be able to. I think because of the texture on the one below, it didn't stick super well. All right, let's move this. Let's try and get that more straight. I'm gonna stick my head in here. Sorry, guys. Does that look better? Are my words crooked now? I hope not. Okay. So now we are almost finished. We need to turn this. Well, this would be a great card all by itself, but we want to turn it into a hot cocoa packet holder. So what we're going to do is simply take the backing off of the tear and tape, which I've already put on here for you. And seal it up. But I do like to, rather than just close it, I like to kind of start here and make sure I'm going, and it's lining up nice and and neat and even all the way before I seal it down. There we go. And you do want to really give this a good push down because it's going to be taking some pressure. When you put that hot cocoa packet in there, it's going to be pushing it out, and you want to make sure that that's going to stick well. Come on, get out of there. Get. All right, so that one's ready. Let's do the second one. Okay. Just kind of making sure we're nice and even all along that edge. There we go. Okay, so now we need a way to get our hot cocoa packet in and out of there. So in your kit there is a very long piece of ribbon. You need to cut that in half so that you have one for each card or packet, and then you simply, if you fold it in half, it'll thread through here very easily. You're going to thread it through both sides like that and get it so it's almost in the middle, and then it's simply a matter of taking your hot cocoa packet, and I like to go upside down with it because it's thicker here, thinner here, less pressure on the bottom where the adhesive is. So I put mine in upside down, and you just simply push and it'll push that ribbon right down, and then you take your ribbon up here, and I give you way more ribbon than you're going to need. I might even cut this shorter so I can use a piece for something later. Come here. Oh, that's a little too short. There we go. And I'm just gonna pull this. I know I need it about there. I'm gonna tie come here. I have a really long tail on mine. You probably won't. I don't know if I cut mine longer than yours or not. There we go. Okay, and then once I figure out exactly where I want it, then I will pull this tight. Nice and tight like that. And then cut off my extra. And I have one finished packet. Let's do the second one. I have some extra ribbon there. May not want to cut your extra ribbon off until, well, no, I guess you'll need to anyway in order to tie the bow. Okay, let's get that in there. Let's grab our second hot cocoa packet. Oh, come here. Open up. In you go. Ta-da! Oh yeah, that's way more. Come here, ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and cut this right here. Set that aside. Okay, so as you can see, I have my ribbon here, and I'm just going to pull it around, tying them both together into a knot. And if you find that's too hard to do like that, go ahead and pull your packet out of the way. So you have a little more room to work on your knot. Come here, hold together. You guys are being persnickety because I'm in a rush, aren't you? Okay, but don't tighten it yet until you get this back in. Make sure you got plenty of room. There we go. And then tighten up your knot. There we go. And trim off your little extras that are sticking out there. And there we have it. We have two finished hot cocoa packet treat holders ready to go. Now remember, your envelope that had your snowflakes in it is for next week's project. There's only one envelope in that kit. So go ahead and stick this in there. And that project is a pretty friendship card. that we're going to make. A little, our friendship is one of a kind. Again, using the same fun watercolor technique that we did on here, we're going to do on this background. So I will see you next week. Until then, God's love and blessings to you, and have a super awesome week. Bye.